Welcome everybody to the SOS Chronicles. I'm RockerMike, Rossi Carl Denaro, Howie Edelson. Welcome back everybody. We're back today with part 2 of Tying Up Loose Ends. Very important episode. This one definitely very important. We were talking in the last one about the first visit that Carl had made with David Berkowitz 2 years ago this month. Howie, you had a couple of things you wanted to add quick to that we kind of left out, so bring that.
Just a couple of personal things about talking about Co-op City with Berkowitz. I was real curious about where he was buying his albums, just like human stuff. And he had explained that there was one record store that had been gone by my time, but he had said he was like that he had bought most of his records at Corvettes, which I got my records too. And I said, David, what were you into? What were your bands? And he goes, the Beatles. He goes, I love the Beatles, I love the Stones, and Sabbath. I really got into Sabbath.
Wow, yeah.
And that's a weird thing for weird three, but that's a weird third band to go with Beatles and Stones. But you can just imagine, he's finding some type of release.
There's no doubt. I mean, we all love Black Sabbath. There's no doubt there was a darkness to their music that he might have been attracted to. Mm-hmm. Okay,
yeah, of course.
Given the things. I mean, the first Sabbath album came out, I believe, in '69. I think I don't think it was huge right off the bat. It took another album or two for them to really break. So you would say maybe by the time he got out of the army, he was listening to Sabbath. Yeah. And again, he might have been attracted to that darkness. We don't know, but it's a safe assumption.
I thought that was just, because I asked him. I said, did you go to concerts? And he said, no, I didn't go to a lot of concerts. I go, do you remember any concerts? And he remembered going to a concert in Manhattan, and he remembered going to a concert in Queens, and he didn't remember who he had seen.
He didn't say where in Manhattan. Could have been the Beacon.
I was like the Fillmore. I was like the Fillmore.
Could have been the Fillmore. Yeah.
He didn't answer.
Probably the Fillmore.
Which I thought was weird. It's like you got nothing but time to think about.
Yeah.
All I do is think about the concerts I went to.
Yeah. Sure.
and that I'm going to.
Yeah.
But so I started throwing baseball because I knew he was a baseball kid. I said, you stayed a Yankee fan throughout. And he was like, yeah. I said, who were your guys? Who were your favorite guys? And he said, Elston Howard and Hector Lopez.
Wow.
And it was like, okay. And then nothing. It wasn't why I loved them, their backstory, and it was like,
that's it.
Mid-'60s Yankees, and, but he, that was a big part of, bringing back that whole co-op thing. And I remembered when the morning he was caught, I remember my mother on the phone discussing how his parents had been friends with an older aunt and uncle of mine, which, totally scared the shit out of me even more, But like I had told you, we had seen him he had remembered the court that I lived in. He said he had fond memories of the court. It was this Deb's Place court in Co-op. And as I had told you, my sister and I had seen him about a year before. Had to be a year before. Because we had seen him. He was a Gene Wilder looking guy. He looked like Gene Wilder. He was
the
like
hair and
he just looked like that kind of guy,
Right.
And so he was a very distinctive face, although a jlubby guy. My sister and I had been looking out our window, and there was a bench and a playground, and a guy who looked like he was wearing a janitor shirt, some type of uniform, was sitting with a girl, and we're watching. And my sister said to me, she said, he likes her, but she doesn't like him. And I said, how do you know? And she goes, I can tell. And I watched it, and he had a drink, some type of juice, and he pulled it in a way that it went all over his shirt. And we started laughing. and he shot us a look. And we were like, oh, shit, But we thought they were just, like, on a date. We didn't, And, when caught, and it's that face, and all that shit.
You remembered.
It was like, I was even more scared
Yeah.
than I had been. Because it all
You realized you had contact with him.
Yeah, and especially, like, growing up in co-op, after that Esau, which was right there, it was, it was fucked up shit.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the second visit that you made over the last summer. Go.
Yeah, so June 8th.
This year.
But June 8th of 23, yeah. I went went up to Shawagunk prison with Mike Caparelli for my second visit with Berkowitz.
Dr. Mike Caparelli wrote this recent book called
Right.
Monster Mirror.
Excellent book.
Excellent book. We had him on in the last 2 episodes of the show for an interview.
Right.
So you went upstate with him to see Berkowitz.
Yeah, I have to say that this visit was definitely not as traumatic as the first visit. I kind of knew what was going on. As far as getting into the prison, the whole check-in process. I had already met Berkowitz, so that fear was kind of gone. But I'd be lying to say I wasn't, still a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
Of course.
You had an inclination, though, that you were going to be...
Well, Mike had said, he goes, over the previous 3 months, he had made statements like, David wants to come clean. David's got something to tell you. A few of my close friends I confided in leading up to this visit and saying, what if he says this? What if, just kind of looking for feedback from people I know and trust. So I guess it was kind of like preparation for whatever he was going to tell me.
Right.
So, we kind of went in. It was uneventful, to be honest with you. We checked in and went through the labyrinth of closing doors, and we go sit down, and David comes down and sits across from us. Now, unlike the first visit, Howie had described that winding desk. Not apparently, but there's actually a few of those. We were sitting in one that was actually a semicircle.
Okay.
So the prisoners sit on the inside of the semicircle, and the visitors sit across the table. The table's probably 18 inches deep. So, Mike and I sit down, Berkowitz walks in, we shake hands, we say a prayer, and we start talking. Mike did most of the talking in the beginning.
I'll just interrupt you for a second.
Sure.
Dr. Mike Caparelli has, said that he has spent over 100 hours with David.
Right.
So,
yeah, so
he was probably looking to make you comfortable with
yes,
Burke.
yeah, and I Dr. Caparelli had a lot to do with my lack of nervousness because, as Mike just pointed out, he had already spent. At that point, I think he spent about 95 hours with Berkowitz.
More than anybody, really.
And I was excited with the anticipation of getting answers. I was hoping it would be a little bit more productive than the first meeting. So we said a prayer, and then we just started talking, and it was very light, very similar to the visit that Trish, Howie, and I did. We just kind of like how's the weather kind of thing when we started out. And then, me being my, who I am, about, 5-6 minutes of that stuff, and it's like, all right, let's get to it. I got questions, I want answers. I was very polite, don't get me wrong, but, I only wanted to listen to so much,
You can bullshit with your neighbor.
Right. So I started asking questions, and you know, and again, there were kind of softball questions just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have a tape recorder. That's a whole nother issue. You got to get special permission. You can't bring in paper or pen. So I'm going to be honest with you. The questions I was asking were, I know there were softball questions. I know he's not gonna give me names. So my questions certainly weren't that. I'll be honest with you, I really don't remember exactly how I started this questioning, but it got to the point where I started asking questions. David. I'm up here. I'm up here for the second time. I'm looking, as you know, I'm looking for answers. I've been looking for answers for a long time. I said, I want to know who shot me. And I mean, it's as simple as that. And with that, if you know me, I have a tendency to just like go full barrel once my the adrenaline starts, and I'm just like that, and David said something, and I keep talking, and Dr. Caparelli grabs my arm and says, "Carl, David's trying to talk to you." Like, what?
But guys, it's like Carl's like Godzilla and Godzuki. You know what I'm saying?
Now I'm a little bit revved up to begin with, and I stopped talking, and David looks at me right in the eye and says, "Carl, I shot you." Well, you can imagine my reaction.
You must have been shocked.
I'll tell you, I was totally shocked. I had emotions that I don't even know what they were. It was just, my mind is racing. You have to realize, 47 years of, a woman shot me, or not, whoever, somebody
Was it
shot
David?
me.
Was it not
It wasn't Berkowitz. He only did the shootings in the Bronx. In the 90s, I was told by David Berkowitz that a woman shot me. So this all came.
And you didn't feel set up because you had said that Caparelli had said, David's got something that he wants to tell you. And didn't you kind of vibe that he knew what David was going to tell you? That's a sucker punch. That's a bullshit move. Man.
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure. I mean, Mike was very clear that David, two things that he told me was, David wants to come clean, and David has something to tell you.
Wow.
So,
and it was,
it's, I spoke to Mike a few times. I spoke to Howie a few times. I spoke to Trish, some other people, though I won't name, good friends of mine who are involved in the case. And I said, what do you think? And, and basically, like I said, I was just trying to come up with, if he names a woman, or if he says he shot me, obviously that was a.
What were you expecting? Seriously, what were you exactly expecting from him?
What was I expecting? I was expecting what I was led to believe for the last 35 years.
But also, you had give you a name. You thought he was going to give up a name.
I was hoping he'd give up a name, but I at least he'd give me more information on the whole woman. A woman shot you.
but going back to the first visit, the year before, you had walked out of there, believing that Berkowitz was involved and at your shooting, but not necessarily.
He told me.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Right.
We talked about that in the last episode.
And he led Carl to believe that this was the beginning of more to come.
More information
Carl
to come.
had said certain things to him about when and if, and
So then-
there was a plan.
So then in this visit, you are talking to him, going on, hitting him in questions, and he just blurts this out.
That's right.
Okay. Did you get a sense of he's just trying to shut me up?
Okay. Initially, I didn't get a sense of anything except
What did he say?
maybe almost panic.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of like, you know, it seemed a lot longer. It was probably 5 or 6 seconds. And I finally grabbed Mike's arm, and I said, Mike, you got to help me. You know, I don't know what to say. So Mike kind of took over in his soothing pastoral voice, and kind of didn't really address the issue, but just kind of calmed me down, and I gained my composure. Again, I really don't know how long it took, but I would say 30 seconds.
Okay. What was Berkowitz's exact demeanor?
I wasn't even looking at him. I mean, I was looking at him when he said it, but after that, I was just kind of like, I was doing a Berkowitz.
Did you say, well, what about the woman that you said?
That's what happened. So after like 30 seconds, I kind of gained my composure. Now I'm still reeling, but I gained enough composure to start firing questions. Now I'm back into my my interview mode, and so I said, so who was with you? And he doesn't answer. So I said, let me get this straight. I said, you told Maury on national TV in 1993 that a woman shot me. 2 years ago, I was here, and you told me to my face that you saw me get shot.
Wow.
And you were there, and you took full responsibility because you could have stopped it.
You said that, yes.
That's what you said. Now you're telling me that you shot me. So I said, if you shot me, so you've been lying this whole time. And again, he's just staring. Now he doesn't bow his head, or he just kind of stares at me. And I said, so you lied to Maury, you lied to me, and now you're telling me you shot everyone. I said, let me ask you a question. Same question I asked you last time. How did you find me? I was just driving around. I said, bullshit again. Then I said, what about the house party? Supposedly there was a party 2 blocks away from my shooting, and was there a party at that house, or were you there? And he said yes.
Yeah.
So that's
an interesting
that's very
That's
telling.
crazy.
Because
He didn't have to offer that up.
You got him
No.
hanging out in
Right.
lanes, basically.
Right. So because it's been one of my things. It's like besides who shot me, it's like how the hell did they find us? Because I'm convinced they didn't follow us. There's just so many reasons why they couldn't have followed us from Peck's. Rosemary showed up an hour before me. There was no plans for us to meet that night. There was no plans for us to leave that night. So somebody would have to follow either me or Rosemary and sit in a car for an hour and a half, hoping
that this was the truth.
that these two,
And not only that, Berkowitz went back to that house after the shooting. It was probably as soon as before you pulled away, he was probably running back to that house.
Possible.
But half of them were.
But hold your thought, Carl, for
Okay.
a second. That kind of ties into what Rosemary said. Okay, Rosemary said at some point that there was somebody following her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he might have been looking around and saw her.
That was at 7 o'clock. That was 7 o'clock in the evening.
Followed her to the area, maybe waited for her to come out of Peck's.
No.
No?
She dropped her sister off
Okay.
at a party, actually not too far from here in Belrose.
Okay.
She drove back to Flushing, North Flushing. I'm not even sure where this Mary lives, but I know she lives like at the border of Flushing and Bayside.
Okay.
Not really near, certainly not in walking distance of Peck's,
yeah.
And she was going to this party, and now it's like 7:30, and she goes into the party and says somebody was following me.
At that point.
Right. So this person would have to sit in front of this girl Mary's house for 4.5 hours, then follow Rosemary to Peck's, then sit on
an hour.
in front of Peck's in front of an hour. And this is, I mean...
And then shoot the passenger?
Well...
It's almost like a
Right.
Yeah,
real
that's-
steak cop.
So
it
the whole
doesn't
thing's
make-
the
That's
whole
probably
thing's very
unlikely.
bizarre.
That's probably unlikely.
So to one of Dr. Caparelli's things, and me speaking to him about this whole confession, he goes, "Well, you have to understand, David is ashamed." Now, I'm not.
The confession you're talking about is in Mike Caparelli's book, Monster Mirror. David confesses to all the murders.
Well, right now, I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I'm just talking about. That was another condition when Dr. Caparelli and I went up to see Barkowitz. He informed me that David would only talk about my shooting. He goes, "Don't even bother asking questions." So, I guess when we left the prison in the parking lot, and we went out for a bite to eat afterwards. He's talked again, which he mentions in his book, but he was talking about David being ashamed, and I get it, certainly, but what I don't get is you're face to face with a victim, and you blurt out, "Carl, I shot you," and then you won't give up any more information.
Right, you try to get details.
It's like, to me, if you're ashamed, the hard part is saying, "Carl, I shot you." After that, you should have diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah,
And
you
all
should
the
open
other
The hardest part is admitting it. Yeah.
I drove over here. And I did press him on this. I said, in other confessions and interviews, you have given facts about pre and post my shooting, and he just wouldn't give anything up. So I guess the conclusion of the meeting was I walked out of there. I walked out of there totally confused. But by the next morning, I came to the conclusion that I had been had again. There's no two ways. No two ways of I can't take it any other way. I guess again, once you say you shot me, the rest should be real easy. And it's like, and I at one point I even asked him. I said, "You don't even have to give me names. Just like, was there other cars there? Was there a lookout? And he would not answer any of those questions. Which again, you admitted you shot me. The other stuff should be easy. So
Yeah.
So I spent the next couple of months, to be honest with you, kind of mulling this whole thing over and starting, trying to put things together. And Mike, you know this as and Rob, we've been doing a bunch of these podcasts, and I guess about 8 months ago, I came to the conclusion that we have all this information. The DA drop and the confessions and interviews. I came to the conclusion that the only way I'm going to get the answers I want is from David Barkowitz himself, and which is why I was so willing to go up with Dr. Caparelli again. Because believe me, it's not an easy thing. I know some people think, "Wow, that's really cool." It's not as cool as you think.
No, I never thought it was
it's
cool.
nerve-wracking.
It took a lot of guts to do it. I can
Yeah,
tell you that.
and
When we were there the first time, Carl went up to get Berkowitz a iced tea, and I'm just there with Trish, and I say to him, "So why don't you just say it all? Why don't you just name the names?" Well, I go, nobody gives a shit.
Oh, you said that to
anymore.
David when Carl walked away.
I said, nobody gives a shit anymore. I go, it's 200 people. I go, it's a tiny amount of people that are obsessed with this case.
Yeah.
I was like, just do it already.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, I just like kind of vomited it out. Because that's what I wanted to say. Just fucking do it.
what was his reaction?
And he like looked at me but he looked at me. I would like to think that he was looking at me and thinking, yeah, why don't I? But it was,
Well,
I can honestly say, I look. I don't know prison life.
Yeah.
I don't think half the people. I don't think all of the people. I think everybody's dead, and I think there's a part of him that's romanticized his own existence in that I'm keeping this secret. I'm protecting relatives. Whatever his thing
makes
is,
him relevant.
Yeah.
You know,
it makes him
relevant even in 2023.
It makes him exist.
Makes him, and you know what?
His
I'm
silence
Gonna,
gives
maybe
him
this is
exist.
maybe I'm wrong here, but I'm going to say it. I think that's a personal. That's a human thing to try to at least give yourself some. You know, we all have pride. Some have too much. Some have a little. You know, he's. It's probably the only thing that he has.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you know what? You could.
I think that's what Dr. Calparelli
really
was trying to
Yeah.
get. It's like, not only the embarrassment, but
It's all he's got.
it's all he's got.
Yeah, and you know,
it doesn't help
you
me,
could,
but
on one side of it, you say he's a monster and he did these murders,
Yeah.
and that's all legit, okay. But also, I'm not without.
You think he's taking the high road by saying by not stopping it, by being a part of it? I shot you too. I killed your child too.
well,
Possibly.
That's the high road, you think?
No, well,
I don't know.
Well, he was after many hours of thinking about it. I came to the conclusion that I've been writing Berkowitz. I don't know, it was probably 15, 16 letters over the last 3 years.
Mostly haiku.
Two, yeah. I don't even know what that is. So, and then the 2 visits. He knows exactly what I want. And everyone knows.
Yeah.
I want to know who shot me
How'd you find
and
it?
how'd you find me. That's
Two simple
basically
questions that
And by him
he
saying,
owes that to you.
by him saying, "Carl, I shot you," he takes away.
And it's
he takes
such
away
disrespect.
everything that I need.
Yeah.
Because what else you want, Carl? I just told you I shot you.
Yeah.
Do you-
So it gets me off his back because I
Yeah.
think I think his conscience is every time he corresponds with me. I can't go into the letters. Some of the letters are in my book, but he I don't even know how to put this into words. I think it bugs him. It's like that he's communicating with me, and I can't really tell you.
But you mentioned just now before that the only answers you're going to get are from David Berkowitz.
Yeah.
Now, that's legit, but at the same time he lies.
Well,
how would you believe?
All right, so you just answered the question for the 1 or 2 people that have wondered where I've been the last 8 months.
Yeah.
And has nothing
Oh,
to
yeah,
do.
rumors were going all over
Right.
the place.
It has nothing to do with me having a falling out with RockerMike and Rob.
That'll never do.
I like I said, I came to the conclusion that the answer is going to come from Berkowitz.
Yeah.
And then in June, I had an opportunity to talk to him, and he kind of convoluted the whole thing more than it already was.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, look, let's just tell it like it is. Okay, there's a lot of toxicity in this Son of Sam community. All right, and I'm gonna just throw
Without
it
a
out there.
doubt.
We don't talk about it on the shows all that much. Very, very little. Not naming names. I'm not going after. Not even going to give any legitimacy to anybody by naming their names. Okay.
Or social life.
Or no social life. Okay, Carl. This 47 years you've been dealing with a metal plate in your head and no peripheral vision in your right eye and the notoriety of being a victim. You've had a full life. Okay. You have things. Everything is outside of the Son of Sam. You don't live the Son of Sam every day of your life.
No.
Okay? It's there. You know it. Okay? And you've lived it.
Yep.
But you have a lot of things. And I got to commend you and hand it to you because, you're like, I don't know, some people would have fell to pieces over it.
Yeah.
Some
Okay?
people
And-
did.
And some people did. And
people
the
did.
other victims don't talk. And that's their right. Okay? But you were the most outspoken victim. And, our shows were when we started with you, the idea was we were going to be your mouthpiece. That was the one thing, okay? And of course, your mouthpiece means we were going to discuss things from mostly the Maury Terry angle, okay? From your angle, your specific perspective as a victim. And also, we were going to bring in different ideas, things that never were discussed before, things that never, different angles on things, okay? Now, some of them were maybe a little out there, some of them make sense, but we were open to anything. And we were also open to the idea of Berkowitz as the only shooter, okay?
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot of evidence. I mean, things have come up based on other shows out there over the last couple of years that, yeah, it may be possible. We had Neo on for several months. Neo did a lot of research, and that is his conclusion, and he may be right. Okay. There's also a lot of evidence the other way. Chris Jr., who did a lot of research for us, had that. Okay. So basically, we don't know. We didn't get anywhere as far as advancing the case, other than maybe on little peripheral things.
Yeah.
Other podcasts solved little peripheral things that don't matter. Okay. Now, getting into Dr. Caparelli for a second, I just put it out there. I think he was a great interview. He's a great guy. I like him. I think he's a good man. He's done this fantastic book from a totally different perspective than any other Son of Sam book out there. Okay, he came on our show for 2 episodes. Thank you very much, Mike.
Yeah.
But with his book, now some people are doing their cherry picking. Okay, this is what they do. They cherry pick the facts. They say, okay, this works for what I'm trying to say, so Berkowitz is telling the truth. Oh, this doesn't work for what I'm trying to say, so Berkowitz is a liar. And that's how it's been in the community for a couple of years now.
So it makes it difficult.
Makes it very difficult. So, in our interview, I want to make something clear. And again, tying up loose ends is the basis of this show. All right, so we had Dr. Mike on. We filmed the episode in the middle of September. It was before his book was out.
Yeah.
It was also before he had his big national interview on the 700 Club and some other things that he had.
Yeah.
He had expressed to us 2 things. He said he wanted us to wait to put the video out until after his national appearance, which he was contractually obligated to do.
Yeah.
So we were like, no problem. We will hold back. We had the video in the can for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay? The other thing was he didn't want to talk about the cult. Now, I had no problem with that because, and neither did Rob, because we weren't doing those 2 interviews with Mike from a perspective of the shootings and, was there a cult? Was there not a cult? Was there other shooters? Nothing like that. It was from a mental health perspective.
Yeah.
Okay,
Totally.
and we were complimented like crazy for it. I think it was a good angle that we did.
Yeah.
Okay. Also at the time of the filming, I hadn't read the whole book. Okay, because I didn't have access to it. I had access to.
Well, he sent us some. Few
He sent us chapters, but not
Yeah.
the whole book. So at the time, I wasn't even aware of the confession.
Right.
Okay. It was irrelevant anyway because we weren't going to talk about it. All right. But I didn't know until after the fact. So basically, if you read Mike's book, there's a confession in there by Berkowitz that he shot everybody. Okay. He said that before. He has said that to Abramson. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's also another part of the book where he says that he met the Carr brothers in the eastern part of the Bronx and was, involved with satanic stuff with them. Okay? They told him to buy a satanic Bible. The Magical Child was the place to buy it. All that stuff. So
He also talked about the process.
the Process Church as well. Okay, so, again, and this is not a shot at Mike Caparelli. He
No.
made a great book, and I'm not trying to diss him in any way or say his facts are all wrong. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't solve the case, and that wasn't Mike's objective in his book to solve the
it
case.
wasn't solve
But people are taking, and you know who you are out there. Okay, you're taking this book and you're saying, oh, okay, he confessed. Oh, end of story. It's over. I
Case
win.
closed.
Blah 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 blah. Case closed. Okay. Well, that's an asshole way to be. All right, because you're ignoring the other part of it. So if you're gonna believe Berkowitz, believe him. But it's obvious that he can't tell the truth all the time.
Well,
Right?
Yeah, and more specifically,
End of rant.
You know, there's been, we all know that there's several sources of information. You know, the DA, the confession the day after his arrest, Abramson, Klausner, Maury Terry, numerous interviews with journalists, interviews with religious people.
Yeah.
It's all a mishmash. But what Berkowitz said, and this is I'm lapping on to what you just said. What Berkowitz said in Dr. Caporelli's book. This is like a snapshot. It's not 20 years ago. It's all in the same book. He talks about meeting the Carr brothers, the Process Church, the Satanic Rituals, Untermeyer Park, and then he wraps it up with, "I did all the shootings."
And he says that it was inspired, that cult activity inspired his
Right.
acts.
Ooh.
So
he had to be aware of it.
right.
No, well, Berkowitz is saying that,
Yeah.
all of this stuff fed into, but didn't direct it.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess
Yeah.
it's possible, and again, this is an assumption on my part, but
I don't
just
think it's possible.
just taking that, the microcosm of what I just said that's in Dr. Caprioli's book, it to me it doesn't make sense. I shot everyone myself, and nobody else was involved, but the process, the Carr brothers, the Untermeyer Park, Satanic Rituals. So you want me to believe
I think
that
he can't
you
wipe
were-
his fingerprints off of
right
that stuff.
So you were involved with the process, the Carr brothers, Untermeyer Park, Satanic Rituals, but yet you decided on your own to buy a 44 and shoot people over a 13-month period, all by yourself, without no one knew about it. Sorry, I just don't buy it.
And then you get and then you have to look at the sketches don't all match.
Well,
Okay,
yeah.
and all these other things that lead
It's 1,000 things.
to the assumption of that there had to be multiple shooters, okay, and multiple involvement.
Can I put this into rock terms that we can understand?
Okay,
This new confession is Berkowitz's new album.
okay,
This is what keeps him.
I like that.
Even though he's always, I don't want the press. I don't want. He's always ready for the interview. He knows where to how the mic gets set up.
He feels
knows
embarrassed, but he's ready for a new
so
interview.
embarrassed, but he said, "This is the new album." So this is going to keep him in the public vernacular, and maybe he benefits from it, from donations from groups or whatever.
Right.
Maybe this is how. Maybe that by coming clean after coming clean. Now I'm really coming clean. It keeps him in the spotlight for someone who's a lifer like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all he's got.
But Howie,
Maybe that's
just
all he's
like
got.
the new
Yeah, and-
album, everybody heard the new Beatles song that absolutely sucks.
No, now and then
This new
Sucks.
confession sucks, pretty much. It's like the new Beatles song. Let's just put it into simple so everybody can understand it.
But it's also
this is the
like
AI
what,
version of
what,
it.
what else? Where else do you go other than the truth?
Yeah.
How do you release a new album?
Yeah.
And it's
starts
like
yeah.
what he's
Right.
doing. He's releasing an old album as a new album.
You know
So
what
it's
I-
like
giving
it's
Abramson.
it's like the 20th remaster of LAMF or one of these albums
Yeah.
that's been out for 1,000
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
It's
But
just
you know what I
remastered
really,
and
you know what I
redone.
really
Right,
think? Don't be surprised when I think David is setting this thing into plan. When he died, I guarantee he's going to have this whole freaking confession thing
All right.
with
Well,
the real
well,
thing.
you want to go into
I really,
that?
Yes.
I really think
That's-
that at
Paul's
the end,
got something.
he said,
Listen
I
to
told
this.
everybody, and this is going to be something, and this is what happened.
Carl
You
Well,
has
you
something
put-
with that, Rob.
So
Let's go with
one,
this.
that.
one thing that Howie and I forgot to talk about in the first
I didn't
visit.
forget it. I didn't know if you wanted to talk
Oh,
about it.
yeah. So at one point towards the end of our 3.5-hour conversation,
This was the first visit.
This is the first visit. I said, David, I said, did you ever write this whole story down? And he said, no. I said, maybe you should write it all down. Don't, no lies, and you're writing to yourself. Just write everything down. Who was involved, how it went down, what dates, whatever information you
Names.
have. Put it in an envelope, seal the envelope, give it to your lawyer, with the instructions that upon my death, give this to Carl Denaro. And
Like a
he
deathbed
said,
confession.
he said, I forget the exact words, but he said something to the effect of, you gave me something to think about.
Oh, I never thought
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah,
Something,
yeah.
But you
So-
say you gave me something to think.
Right,
about. Well,
so-
we were like, that was our big.
Well, that's when we left.
I was kind of pumped up. I
That was
said,
the high
I said,
we
the
were.
next time I see him, he's going to tell me something. A little did I know that would just be, in my opinion, just another lie. I want to talk about, not to beat the dead horse, but, it kind of goes in with, picking and choosing what you want to report to prove your case. Before I get into that, though, I do want to say one thing. Somebody said that I'm pigeonholed.
Oh, yes.
I'm cornered and I'm pigeonholed because I wrote a book. Called The Son of Sam and Me, The Truth About Why I Wasn't Shot by David Berkowitz. So because that's in the title of the book, some people think that I'm pigeonholed, and I'll never admit that David Berkowitz was a lone shooter and David Berkowitz shot me. Believe me. Well, I'll first talk about the book. I had no intentions of writing a second book, but if I truly believe that David Berkowitz shot me, I got another book
And you changed the title,
ready to be
but
written.
he did.
Why
Yeah,
do you now
but
believe
he
he shot
did.
you?
Yeah, it's like, boy, was I taken, or
Yeah.
boy, was
Yeah.
I duped.
That's
I mean,
probably do even better.
The problem is, I still don't believe Berkowitz is telling the truth, and again, I went over it already in Dr. Caprielli's book. Why would he talk about the Process Church and the Carr brothers if he acted alone? Now going back.
But
Go ahead.
let me just hold your thought for a second. Let me just jump in here. Like what you were saying before, the hardest part is telling you he did it.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
If that was a legitimate confession, the next following step, the immediate sentence after that, is the details. And that would be easy. Like you said, you'd have diarrhea of the mouth, and you would be able to just speak about the next part of it. Okay? That didn't happen.
No.
So it just reeks of insincerity.
And
And
another
it's sadistic. It's a
It
sadistic thing.
is a sadistic thing to do.
Because I did it, and I'm not going to tell you anything
Right.
about it. You know.
Now,
another thing that was that he said was oh God, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I didn't mean to do that to you.
When he was talking about Nasa Moskowitz and how I'm sorry, before that he was talking about, he mentioned something to the effect of I'm so sorry I did that interview. I was kind of coerced into it. Now I think we all know he was talking about the interview with Maury Terry.
The 93.
But
In
the
93.
only thing is, we don't know. He did too.
Yeah.
So if it was in '93 where he told me that he lied to Maury Terry about a woman shooting me, I'm assuming that's the interview he was referred to, and ashamed that he got coerced into doing it. Why in God's name did he do another interview with Maury Terry in 1998 and continue these lies? So,
Wow.
yeah. And the next thing is
too
the
many conflicting
Nasa Moskowitz. He laments that he never got a chance to tell Nasa Moskowitz that that I shot your daughter Stacy. So that was well over 10 years ago, probably closer to 15, that she passed away. So now he's got an opportunity with another victim in 21, me.
He bullshits
And
it for 2
he
years.
bullshits again, and then 2 years later,
he makes up another story and says, "Yeah, I did shoot you."
It seems like he has shame 30 years after the fact.
For anyone,
you know?
for anyone that thinks they can, I mean, yeah,
You can pick and choose and make your own story,
Absolutely.
but it's not realistic, and it's not based in reality.
Right.
You got to take everything. And like I said,
One good thing about Mike's book is it's all right there in one chapter, and we're not you don't have to compare. You don't have to compare a confession in 77 with the interview in 93. This is all in real time, one chapter of Dr. Caporelli's book, and there's discrepancies all over the place.
And also for the naysayers, from what I've read, all that I can say is from knowing you is that you've never really cared who shot you. You just wanted to know
What happened.
who shot you, like at who, what, where,
Yeah,
and what. Like there's no, you're not like looking for vengeance. You're not looking, but it's like we talked about. It's
And
like this.
you
itch.
told Berkowitz
you
you forgave
can't
him.
scratch.
I think in the first paragraph of my book, I said, "Believe me, I'm not trying to sell you on a conspiracy." I said it would be so much easier if I was shot by David Berkowitz. I survived, and
That was the end of it.
And that's the end of
Yeah.
the story. I said I got thrust into this story,
Yeah.
And
the more
Carl also started his life, his adult life, thinking this guy had shot him, and went right ahead.
For 15 years.
Yeah,
the
well,
fork
yeah.
in the road is finding out
well,
what
12 years
12
anyway.
years.
Yeah,
there were more people involved.
Yeah.
Like we all live these kind of lives where we kind of know why and what happens. For there to be a left hook thrown in and changes your whole direction, and you have no answers. That's a heavier load than being wounded.
Right. And
You don't know why, you don't know who, and the person who took the blame is jerking you around.
Yeah.
It was almost like watching the movie Crew, and they had 3 fucking endings.
Yeah,
right. Take your pick.
That's a good movie.
Take your
club.
pick.
That's a good
Who
movie.
did it? So it's pretty much that's
Yeah.
what's like happening
It could be
to you.
this or this.
This and that.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. All the we're I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but we're a pretty popular podcast in this world with the Son of Sam world, and there's others, and nobody has proven anything. Nobody has come to an absolute conclusion, and it's not going to change until Berkowitz talks or somebody comes out with some other information. So basically, if you don't have anything else to say, Carl, I'm going to make an announcement here.
But wait, can I
Go
ask you
ahead,
a question?
Howard. Yeah.
Can I ask you on camera who you think shot everyone? Yeah.
Me personally,
Yeah.
I believe in multiple shooters.
But for each, if I name them,
Okay.
who you thought, you don't want to do that?
No, it's okay.
I'm
I'm not answering.
I'm not gonna name names.
Okay,
I don't want to
okay.
do that.
Yeah.
But I do believe that. Let's put it this way, Maury Terry, is the reason we're all doing these podcasts. Okay. Without him, there'd be no reason to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So he put out information that for the time of 1986 was well researched and very hard to do, and he had to go through a lot of shit, to do it. Was he wrong about anything? Possibly. I'm sure he was. It really doesn't matter, okay? But that's where we differ from other people, because we recognize that Maury could have made mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, but we don't believe, like others, that there was a malicious intent.
No.
That there was some kind of, malice behind what he's doing. That he wanted to get back at people. That this guy spent half his life researching this case at a time when there was no internet.
Yeah.
All that stuff, and really opened up a lot of doors and showed a lot of stuff that the cops had made mistakes in the case and all
Right.
that stuff.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
No,
I'm sorry.
Well, so to answer what you were saying, asking me, Howie, is I just will say, I don't think Berkowitz is the only shooter. I'm open to that if you could prove to me these other things are not true. Now, in the recent book, you got the conflicting things we just talked about. You have him confessing, which he's done before, and then you also have him with the cars. Well, what's all that about? Okay, so again, we don't have an answer. So we're at where we are in 2023, except for a little bit of peripheral things like maybe the Neto situation, things like that, the peripheral stuff. Okay, we're in the same place as we were in 1986 when Maury Terry came out with the book. Do you agree?
Except there are more people.
More people interested. Yeah.
And more people saying that.
Yeah. Well, you
no
know, it's,
barking dogs.
you were right. What you told Berkowitz is that there's only a few hundred people into this case. Okay, really into this case. All right. There's no international interest in the Son of Sam. I'm sorry, there really isn't.
No.
Okay, you go out of the tri-state area, nobody knows what the hell this is. Are there true crime buffs in other places? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think it's 1,000 people, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that are into this, including us. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not a big community, and what has happened, just to hop on this for a second, is you've had people throw wedges into this community that we end up fighting each other more than solving the case, trying to solve the case.
That's what it's turned into, which has a lot to do with why I haven't really posted anything or done a show, because I really think it all lies with Berkowitz, and I think I've proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he can't be trusted.
If it was a deathbed confession, I might believe it.
Right.
Right.
I
mean, that's usually acceptable.
I mean, he gives me a confession, and he backs it up with, after I shot you, we went back to Dorfler's house on 157th Street. We had 2 beers,
Details.
smoked a joint, and then maybe I could start believing him, but you can't just say, I shot you, and like,
okay, shut up, I shot you.
I have to take full his pat answer is, I have to take full responsibility because I could have stopped it. Well, again, that doesn't even...
First of all, he couldn't. He didn't stop Moskowitz. He could have, but he didn't have the power to.
Right.
He tried to, and they said, "Shut the fuck up."
Unless
Go
he
shot
it.
Unless he's the
Unless
shooter.
he shot him,
Unless he was the shooter.
So,
but that case in itself is
with a lot of people, to go along with what you said, I don't want to answer that question, who I think the shooters are, because the only person that has done research into who the other shooters are is Maury Terry. And he may or may not be wrong. We could thank, I hate to say it, but we could thank the NYPD for not pursuing a lot of the leads. We can thank the court system for accepting a guilty plea on a serial killer, which never happens. There should have been a trial.
Yep.
There should have been a trial, and we wouldn't even be here because all our answers would have been answered at trial.
Things could have come out. You never know.
A lot of people forget about the yellow Volkswagen. A lot of people make jokes about the yellow Volkswagen. Well, I can tell you, besides Maury Terry, I know for a fact because I have reports. The NYPD sent out bulletins to the Nassau County Police Department with the partial plate number and the description of the yellow Volkswagen. They were sent to all the precincts in Nassau County. I know this for a fact because I actually have a copy. That's really never been addressed.
So they took it seriously,
right? And that's the only point. That's the only point I'm making.
And if it had gone to court, like you just mentioned,
Yeah.
that would have been brought up.
Yes.
Okay, and a lot of and that could have opened up other things.
Right.
So,
and I guess the last thing is in defense of Maury Terry, which, to be honest with you, I miss Maury. I love Maury, but to be honest with you, I'm getting sick of defending him. It's an uphill battle. It's kind of like arguing politics. If you're on the left, I'm never going to convince you to come to the right, and vice versa. So it's kind of like pissing up a rope. But in defense of Maury Terry, I have seen his notes, or not all of them, but I've seen a lot of them. I can't believe a guy would lie to himself in his notes.
as some podcaster has mentioned, Maury never expected somebody to be looking, into his book and how he lied.
Well, if that's true,
Why would he be lying in his notes that he started writing up on napkins and pieces and scraps of paper
Lying
back
on
in 77, 78, up until his book came out?
and then he continued after 4 editions of his book came out. He continued investigating, and why would he lie on his notes? You might want to accuse him of lying, and that so be it if that's what you
And
feel.
you know what's the one
But
thing
You
he
don't
does?
lie in your own notes.
You know what the one thing he said? He's dead and his book is still making money. Think about that. Because people are still buying it. People
Right.
still
Yeah.
want to read it. This is
Right.
people that still
And people get
are like,
interested.
You
Yep.
want to read this book because it's one of those books that once you start reading, you can't put it down.
Yeah.
And that's pretty
And
much.
like I said, if someone can actually prove
Without a doubt that David Berkowitz pulled the trigger in all the shootings, I'm ready to write my second book.
he's gonna.
I'd believe it.
Yeah,
I would believe it.
I keep saying, don't be surprised when he dies. If he starts sending letters or he'll leave something
I'm
to
hoping.
people.
He might do that.
And it might be he might give it to somebody. Write this about me. This is what happened.
So for right now, for me, I still communicate obviously with you guys and a few other people, private messages.
Yeah.
I don't really post too much. I don't really trust the people who are out there because I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I just see everything, as Mike mentioned earlier. It's more about backstabbing and nitpicking as opposed to solving the case.
Teams.
But I talk to
What team you want?
I talked to, I don't know, I'm going to say 15, 16 people who are involved in private messages, and some information still coming out. There's more archives to be looked at, more notes to be looked at, and like I said, until I will continue doing that, but until something major breaks, like Berkowitz telling the truth or writing something out, I don't think there's a whole lot for me to do.
Okay, and that kind of leads up to the announcement that me and Rob want to make, and that is that this episode is going to be our last one of the Son of Sam Chronicles, at least for a while. There's a lot of gas left in the tank if we want to reopen it. Anytime anything breaks, we will be back on it. If Carl wants to come on and talk about anything, we'll be happy to do it. But I think it's run its course. We've been doing it now for 2.5 years practically. I just want to say that, I've met some great people through it, okay? Carl, of course, you. I mean, we become solid friends over this, and that's great. And, Howie, man, you're great too. Rob, you suck. No, just kidding. You're great.
That's what they all say. That's what they all say.
No, but and a lot of other people. I want to thank Chris Jr. I want to thank Neo.
Yeah.
Okay. And one guy in particular I want to thank real quick is this guy over here behind the camera.
Yeah.
Come around here, Eric.
All right, Eric.
This is our cameraman, Eric Moore. Say hello.
Our sound guy.
Sound guy,
Say
editor.
hello to the people, Lord.
Editor,
Lord,
Lord,
get
get in there, get in there. There you go.
go.
He does some of our other podcasts too. He's great.
Yeah.
Eric Moore. It just a real quick. The naysayers and the critics of our show, I don't really give you much thought. Okay, you're really a bunch of idiots. I'm sorry. You say things that you would never say to my face. You say things that really are just stupid. Okay, you're a bunch of losers, and you basically don't have a life. Okay, outside of Son of Sam. All right, I do, and so does Rob. Okay.
Oh, I have a much better life than these people.
Than these people. Okay, you know who you are. I don't have to
I
name
get-
you. You're sitting home in your house right now watching, and it's that's all I'm going to say about that. The good thing is that we're going on to other things. Rob and I want to stay in the true crime world. We have our other podcast, The Rock Show, the RockerMike and Rock Presents Interview Show, the Conspiracy 420 Show. But we're going to get into some other true crime things. It's going to be a little different.
Yeah.
Some of them might be a series where we have multiple episodes about the same topic. Some might be one-offs. Okay, so you never know. It's going to be totally different thing. We're going to be starting that. I would probably think after the new year.
Yeah.
And I don't think of anything. I want to, thank everybody, all our listeners.
I'd like to thank the haters because they watch us more than the people that like us. That's all I want to
Thanks
say.
for the views. Haters, thanks for the views. Okay?
Me, I really
Yeah.
don't care. You know what? I don't give a fuck what anybody say. I don't live my life for that. I live my life for myself. If I can make somebody miserable, I won.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, living for
we
free.
live rent free in people's heads. I mean, they watch our views. They know when we go on the air. They know when how fast our shit goes up. They
You're
accuse
better
us
than
of things.
Santa Claus.
Please, it's ridiculous. Okay, so we're gonna leave it at that. This is the end of the Son of Sam Chronicles for now.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna stay in the Facebook groups. And,
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, Carl will be there too, and we'll still talk, and you can always private message me or whatever, and all I can say, don't get drunk,
Get lumped
get
up.
lumped up.
And I'd like to say one more thing, the words of Jim Cornette. Thank you, fuck you, and bye.
Take care, people.